we're going to do the tissue on this abstract piece, where I'm going to put a lot more colour on and play around with landscape shapes and intuitive patterns later. At the moment I'm just working on this provisional photograph you see here, and it's just to give me a basic feeling of the floating figures in space, and then I shall use that only as a basis. Okay, first of all I'm going to take my tissue and tear it into strips, just so that I can lay it along those lines. And then I have a bowl of a mixture of both PVA glue and water. I'm going to just dip the paper into that and stick it on the surface. So, pull it out, and I'm going to just lay it around in a textural way on this surface, just to get a slightly raised edge, but nice and abstractly. Because I want spontaneity, I want to have things just happening, not too exact. In other words, that things can happen naturally and for fun. So we've got what we call, like in watercolour, controlled accident. And I'll work it over here, giving myself bits of text, giving myself bits of texture onto the design, as and when I feel. Get a brush just to smooth it down a minute. The edges especially. Not matter about the surface as much. The edges want to be blended on. And I shall prime over this again afterwards, just building up as I see fit. That's that composition about covered for what it is. The marks I've made are being used. And this one also needs a coat of white emulsion. I'll give it on. I'll coat the yellow first, because I've already got white on yellow, so it doesn't matter so much, does it? Get on nice and thick, to help fill and smooth out the joints into the yellow tissue. Okay, the white emulsion is now dry here, and I can decide what I want to do with starting the actual painting. What I do want to do first of all is apply a little gold leafing, as I do like to have some of this glowing through my abstracts. And where I want this is all around this area here. I'm going to use some of this gilding mixture first of all, which will then dry semi-transparent. And as soon as it's dry enough, you can take some of this gold metallic foil and lay that on where I want as well. Let's get some of that out ready. Not too expensive, this stuff, expensive enough though. And just lay it across wherever I'm going to want it. In this case I want quite large areas of it. Use a dry brush then, just to brush it on. And we're going to paint across this and use it as a base to glow through. There we go. Rather effective. In a mixed media piece we can use anything we want. One of the beauties of this kind of work is that it's totally free to self-expression, to what you want to say. Another piece of this beautiful gilded leaf, this metallic foil. Put that right on down across here. If anything comes off, you can just lift it with the brush and put it on again somewhere else. There's one thing I am fairly sure of, and that is the general public really don't have any idea about material costs or the amount of effort that goes into a piece of work. I think we tend to just do it for fun, and therefore they should pay nothing for it. Whereas if they went out for a meal and did that, they'd pay a lot of money, £50 £50 or so for the couple, quite averagely I think, and I expect to pay that without problems. The gold leaf, it's time to start working on to these basic colours, these mauves and browny greys, by using a standard set of acrylics. And I'm going to work up other colours onto that afterwards. I'm going to just lose the white canvas at the moment. So let's start with one of the darker ones. I think I'll take some purple. And then some rose. That's going to give me a lovely deep purple colour. I'm going to kill that down a bit with some brown. Add a bit of blue just to deaden it a bit more. We're maybe getting near the colour then, look. So on we go. Let's get this coat of colour on. It's going to take a couple of coats because this acrylic's quite thin. So it's not just a matter of slapping it on and that's it. I'm going to have to unfortunately give it more than one coat. A cheaper acrylic. The trouble with the cheaper paints, they are much more transparent, don't go as far. Takes quite a bit of paint to cover canvas like this, trying to do it nice and evenly. Well in there, make sure you get rid of all of the little bits of white. You don't want any white canvas showing at all. Even amongst this gold leafing I want to make sure I've got no white showing, just sort of the gold showing through. Some very subtle mixes of reds and purples going on here, and I'm not trying to make them exact. What I'm trying to do is make some very interesting colours that work together. So I get these basic colours on, I'll be able to tell a lot more what colours I actually need. It's difficult at the moment to read them. Just begin to see how we can work this gold leafing into it by just glazing into the edges and letting it glow through. And I think this is where we stop and have a think about things, and then start to come back in with other colours and other designs more intuitively, and not leave this particular one behind now. these acrylics have dried, I can think about working onto this in oils. And I'm looking at using these local scenes that I did this last winter when we went out onto the beach for Cockles, and this rather nice expanse. But I want to push these sorts of pastel colours amongst this a lot more, to pull out these nice colours amongst metallic foiling and so on. So I'm going to be looking at the composition of these pictures linked with this. The idea of one form coming through another. I think this bird might go quite well up there, for instance. So let's start off there. And I want to at all times keep this palette of stronger, brighter colours, pastel shades, nearby. I'm going to be affected by that. And the first thing I'm going to do is just work out where this bird's going to go here. It'd be rather nice to just bring him onto there, because this feeling, this picture has this feeling of the sort of seashore type textures as well. And bring that bird into here. Don't bother drawing, just straight on with the colour, and we'll indicate these forms again. Now that bird comes around like that, and then its beak comes out as it comes into some sort of flight there, and its leg comes down there and then forward. So simple as that. Now, in a ghostly sort of way, I want to start bringing out the colours of that with whites at first, I think. Just sort of glazing it over the top, so we get a sort of mystical feel to the painting. And let these colours show through. Get little touches of white feathers at the end. And already it's having a rock pool-like effect rather than the original of the figures. That's really just a basis. So we're just building up these glazes of white at the moment. Thin there. Got a bit of dark in a moment there. Let's get that done. And then it's much stronger. You see, we can build up a bird very quickly like that, quite a ghostly fashion. And a little one standing behind. Now that could go there, it could go here, it could go here. Let's have a little think where we could put the next one. I think that'd be rather nice to maybe just up here actually. Just to balance a small one in the background, just up there. We'll just indicate it in first of all, quite thinly with the paint, letting that show through almost as a brown. And then we'll pick up some more white. Work it up a little bit more heavily under the wing there, the tail. How quickly we can paint the illusion of a bird. A little wader. Back to this one again, just a bit more on there. Or just pick up a little bit of the white on the edge of the wings here. Just a little more. Now I want the dark of its legs. So I'm going to make some Prussian blue. I'm going to add to the Prussian blue a little bit of burnt umber to make it towards a black. that's a deep cool with a little bit of warm in it. I'm just bringing his leg back there, forward, just to be quite a lot darker. Just a bit more Prussian blue into it, and then you can just bring down his feet like that, and he's got another leg just coming back behind his tail here. He's got a little bit longer, and this beak coming out, his eyes here, and he's got the beak. And you see how quickly we can form a painting like this. Just the same here, he's got his eye there and then the beak coming down. So we're using the colours that are there, that exist, as well as adding a little more tone. And there we are. As quick as that. Just an indication of the little waders before we start playing with more. Now, what composition do we want to work on to next? I do want to get some lovely colours happening here. We've got some lovely patterns and textures to play with around here yet. And think about these lines of sand that might be coming out into the foreground, and the way the water can come round through here. And we just feel intuitively our way into this. If we use both aerial and linear perspective here, try and fit that within this composition and where things are going to match or join up. We shall see as it goes along. I'm going to just use a sort of glaze at the moment, not more into it. Find some beautiful colours amongst these if we can. Playing with the darks and lights as we go along. And playing between these thicker paints and glazes, in this perspective of these lines of sand that I want to play around with here as well. This is what we call intuitive painting, just painting where you feel a shape or a colour wants to go. A nice feeling of light and atmosphere, just the mood of the place really. We're not painting, or I'm not painting the real thing, I'm just working about it. Really explore and play with some beautiful colours as well while we're at it. It's quite fun playing with vertical and horizontal brushstrokes as well to get the effects of reflection or water. When you think you finished a painting, sometimes you haven't. Sometimes it's as wise to finish and not continue with it. Other times to sit back, take a look and just think, could there be more done? I wasn't really happy with the end of that last painting, so I decided to come back to it and add to it a bit more. It's evolved considerably since it was first just working about those floating figures, and now it's much more about the beach and so on. By the time I finish this, I've added far more colour, more shapes and some more birds into it, to give a bit more of the figurative into the abstract.